He bought milk and eggs and walked out in handcuffs. The camera caught everything except the truth. When Brandon Russell walked into the store that night, he didn't expect to walk out in handcuffs. He just needed eggs, milk, and a quiet way to end a long day. But someone else had already decided he didn't belong. Brandon was 29th warehouse shift lead. Quiet. Liked comic books and Sunday barbecue at his sister's. Lived in East Raleigh with his mother, helped pay the rent, didn't own a car but never missed work. One of those people who minded their business and did things right. Or at least tried. That Monday night, the city was quiet after a summer storm. Brandon got off the bus 2 blocks from the 24/7 Market Square. He didn't like that store much. Prices were high and security followed him around like he was invisible until they needed someone to blame. But it was close, and he was tired. He walked in at 9:12 p.m. By 9:27, he was in the back of a squad car. It started with a woman's scream. He was checking out near the front when he heard it. Loud, sharp, real. Everyone froze. Then a commotion near aisle 4. Brandon turned his head, saw a woman running, yelling something about her purse, then pointing straight at a man sprinting out the side exit. The guy was gone before anyone could react. Skinny. Hooded. Black. Maybe 18. Brandon didn't move. Just blinked, shifted his grocery bag to the other hand, and reached for his receipt. But the cashier was already backing up, and the store manager, a white man in his 50s named Carl, was pointing. Not toward the exit. Toward Brandon. "That's him," Carl said. "Grab him. He was just over there." Brandon frowned. "What?" He didn't resist. He didn't run. He said his name, showed his ID, offered to show his phone to prove where he'd been. It didn't matter. The police were called. 2 officers showed up, both white, both already agitated. "Matches the description," one said, barely looking at Brandon. "That's him," Carl repeated. "I saw him in that aisle 5 minutes ago." Brandon kept his voice calm. "Sir, I was at the front the whole time. You rang me up. You looked right at me." Carl didn't blink. "I didn't." The officers didn't check the tapes. They didn't ask witnesses. They didn't even check timestamps. They just turned Brandon around, cuffed him in front of customers, and walked him out into the flashing red and blue. At the station, Brandon was processed for robbery and assault, because the woman who screamed said the thief shoved her when grabbing the bag. He sat in a concrete cell for 14 hours. No lawyer, no phone call. His mother didn't even know he was missing until he didn't come home the next morning. The detective assigned the case didn't ask for his side, just listed the charges, told him the woman had positively identified him in the report. Brandon couldn't believe it. He said, "There are cameras. Look at the footage." The detective said, "That'll be reviewed in court." He was assigned a public defender named Rick Hamlin, who had 30 other cases and 10 minutes to spare. Rick told him to take a plea. 1 year probation, clean record after that, better than jail time. Brandon said no. He wanted to fight. That's when the videos started disappearing. The store claimed their system was down that night. No footage, no backup. The side exit camera, conveniently, had glitched, and the one above the register, corrupted, even though Brandon remembered seeing the red light blinking. Rick didn't push. He shrugged and said, "It happens." Brandon sat through 3 pre-trials, lost his job in the meantime. The warehouse replaced him, pending investigation. His neighbors looked at him differently. His landlord started knocking twice as often. Even his cousin stopped replying. It wasn't until a 17-year-old clerk named Miguel, who worked part-time at the store, reached out through Instagram that things shifted. Miguel said, "I remember you. You didn't do it, and I swear I saw the real guy before he ran." Brandon showed the message to Rick. Rick said it was not solid enough. So Brandon went to a local community journalist, Stephanie Kane, who had done a podcast series about wrongful arrests in Raleigh. She interviewed Miguel, then a woman who had been in the next aisle, then another customer. All three said Brandon had been at the front the whole time. Stephanie filed an open records request for the police report. It was full of contradictions. The time of arrest didn't match the report time. The supposed ID from the victim had no signature, and the name Carl, the manager, wasn't even on the witness list, just cited by verbal confirmation. She published a piece titled, "Wrong Face, Right Target: How Brandon Russell Became a Suspect by Default." It exploded. Within 48 hours, the local NAACP chapter picked it up. So did a city council member, then the mayor's office. The DA dropped the charges a week later, but the damage was done. Brandon didn't walk out smiling. He walked out bitter, tired, and deeply unsure of where he belonged anymore. He tried to get his job back. They said the position was filled. He applied at 6 more warehouses. Never heard back. He stopped going to church. Stopped talking much. He started carrying receipts for everything. Stephanie asked if he'd do a follow-up interview. He said maybe later. He never did. 3 months after the case was dropped, the city quietly offered a settlement, $18,500 if he agreed not to sue. He said no. Then they offered $35,000. He still said no. He wasn't interested in their money. He wanted the truth to matter. A year later, Brandon moved to Charlotte. New apartment. New job. Same silence. He never told anyone at work what happened, but sometimes when he sees police lights outside a gas station or hears someone yell in a store, he feels it in his throat. The same freeze, the same fear. He still keeps the article printed in his drawer, Stephanie's headline in bold. And sometimes, when he can't sleep, he takes it out, looks at his name in the ink and reminds himself, they didn't steal my life. They just slowed it down. But sometimes that's enough. This wasn't just about a mistake. It was about how a black man doing everything right could still be rewritten into the villain. Because the system doesn't need truth to ruin you. It just needs someone to point, and someone else to believe it. He followed every rule, and still became a suspect. If that sounds familiar, this is your space. Subscribe, not just to the channel, but to the fight for something better.